All right, what is going on, folks? Welcome back to the one and only Wrestling Otaku channel. Of course, your personification of excellence on YouTube and YWC. Where the best reviews wrestling and your three-time YWC channel of the year. And I'm back here. It is now Tuesday, March the 17th of 2026. Happy St. Patrick's Day, by the way. It is officially St. Patrick's Day here, so happy St. Patrick's Day to those of you who celebrate it. And so, yeah, hope you all have had a good weekend, good Monday, and a good, of course, it's Tuesday, St. Patrick's Day. So, hope you all have been having a good week so far. And I was chilling out for most of the day. I had the day off, so I figured I'd go ahead and do this video. I've largely been just watching anime, playing Apex, and all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to go ahead and do a video here, get back to doing some more content, and I certainly have more content to come. And for those of you who watched Revolution on Sunday, hope you all found an enjoyable pay-per-view as I did. I gave a brief kind of recap of the show in a short video I did here yesterday, the day before. And so, excellent show. Once again, AEW delivers on their first pay-per-view of 2026. And so this video is going to be in relates to that, because here today I want to talk about something that happened at Revolution. As you know, and I mentioned this in the short video I did, we had several returns, or several, well, one or two debuts, I should say, on the show. And one of those debuts, I guess you might as well say it's a debut, at least for AEW. We had the AEW debut and the arrival of one Ronda Rousey, which has sparked very much, a pretty big discussion on social media. So Ronda Rousey appeared on AEW's Revolution following the timeless Toni Storm versus Marina Shafir match. Of course, the one where there was no outside interference. Everybody was banned from ringside. Toni Storm got the victory, and thus she vanquished her longtime rival, or at least, for the last couple months. Marina Shafir had been the thorn in the side of Toni Storm. So Toni Storm vanquished Marina Shafir in this match via a cradle pin. And so, yeah, so at that point, it seemed like Timeless Toni Storm was all but finished with Marina Shafir. And then shortly thereafter, we had somebody jump the guardrail and rush into the ring. And the commentators basically made mention of the fact that it was Ronda Rousey. So Ronda Rousey makes her debut, official first appearance in AEW. She gets in the ring, calls out Toni Storm, basically kind of motions her to come back into the ring. Toni Storm obliges, rushes back into the ring. Then before they can actually come to blows or whatever have you, or have a confrontation, you had a whole bunch of security get in the ring and break them up. In the melee, in the confusion, Marina Shafir pops back up, knocks Toni Storm down, basically, stands over her, and Ronda Rousey and Marina Shafir get out of the ring together, and they basically, obviously, admonish, or basically stand on the outside and gloat, kind of, as as they kind of basically get one up on Toni Storm here. So, and then afterwards, you see Marina Shafir and Ronda Rousey leave the arena together. And shortly thereafter is when Jon Moxley, of course, came in for his match. And so, obviously, what we're seeing here is that Ronda Rousey and Marina Shafir, obviously, the two of them have a bit of a past relationship. They were friends, longtime friends. They came up together in the UFC and all that kind of stuff. This was mentioned on commentary, and obviously Marina Shafir being part of the Death Riders, and it was hinted that Ronda Rousey may have an affiliation with the Death Riders going forward. So what I want to talk about with this video is I want to give my thoughts on the kind of, I guess you could say, online discourse regarding Ronda Rousey appearing in AEW, and the question being thrown around: does Ronda Rousey belong in AEW? Well, from the vast majority of comments and posts and things of that nature that I've seen since what happened at Revolution, and a lot of people have had a lot to say in regards to Ronda Rousey, most of it being negative. Most people saying they didn't want to see her there. She doesn't belong in AEW, so on and so forth. Basically citing her previous words and comments in past interviews and things of that nature regarding, pro wrestling, basically taking a shot at pro wrestling a number of years ago. This was shortly after she left WWE. She basically took a shot at pro wrestling, took a shot at pro wrestling fans, and this, that, and the third. Of course, if you don't know, Ronda Rousey first made her name in UFC. She was a UFC champion, so on and so forth, and she was one of the biggest names coming out of UFC, one of the biggest figures coming out of UFC. And then she went over to WWE. She had several marquee matches there, and she was a WWE champion, women's champion for a time, and then shortly thereafter she left. Yeah, she actually had two stints there. She had her initial stint, which she appeared, and then she left, and then she came back later, about a year or so later, and that's when she won the women's title. And I think that's kind of where a lot of people grew basically sick of Ronda Rousey. Kind of basically more so it's the booking. How she was booked, how she was super booked, still you'd be put over everybody, and so on and so forth. And also the fact that she's not exactly the best most charismatic individual. In terms of like her presence, in terms of her her promo ability, mic skills, things of that nature. She's obviously she has ability in terms of being an MMA fighter, but her wrestling leaves much to be desired. And now she's here in AEW. She makes her first appearance here in AEW. So I just wanted to give my thoughts real quick. Now I know that Ronda Rousey had made appearances in Ring of Honor prior. Of course, I didn't see it myself, but she had apparently made cameo appearances in Ring of Honor. I think she even had a match in Ring of Honor, if my memory serves. But anyway, so this is her technically first appearance, full on appearance in AEW, and I'm of the opinion that personally, if Ronda Rousey is going to make appearances or going to be a basically a figure in AEW, I just generally hope that they don't put her in the ring in matches. I just personally hope it's just a thing of where she's there for support, moral support, or whatever the case may be, or hire muscle or something like that for the Death Riders. Because again, they told that story of her kinship with her and Marina Shafir, their friendship, coming up in the MMA ranks. And so if it's just that, if it's just based on that, where she's basically going to be a side piece, or she's going to be an ally to Marina Shafir, that's fine. But I get the distinct feeling that they're going to have her be like in some capacity and matches, like in the women's tag division, for example, with Marina Shafir. And I'm personally of the opinion that I'd rather not see that. I mean, it's just like you already have people online pretty much saying they don't want her here. Again, making reference to the fact that she has no real respect for pro wrestling, and she's dogged out pro wrestling in the past in interviews. And obviously, people who are fans of AEW, they see that and they say, no, we don't want somebody like this here. And I understand that wholeheartedly. And I'm of the opinion that, I just don't believe that she has a real legitimate place in AEW outside of being just somebody who makes appearances here and there. If it's just that, then it's whatever. But I get that distinct feeling they're going to try to incorporate her in matches and stuff like that from Marina Shafir, and I just that's just something I don't really want to see. AEW's women's division is just fine as it is. AEW is at the point now where they don't need a Ronda Rousey. They don't need a name or a figure like Ronda Rousey, especially with all the shit that she's been involved with, ingrained with, the various controversies. And the last thing AEW need is another controversy. So I'm of the opinion that AEW does not need a Ronda Rousey. They clearly brought her in for a reason, so I'm just going to wait and see what happens. But I'm of the opinion that AEW does not need Ronda Rousey there. That's just my opinion. And I hope to God they don't end up incorporating her in matches and shit like that. Because if they do, I get the feeling AEW fans are not going to take to that very well. Like, it's just, like, I don't think it's a good fit. Like, honestly, I think she should have stayed in Ring of Honor. If she was going to, like, do a Ring of Honor, like, if she was going to be a thing, if it was going to be a thing where she was going to do Ring of Honor and stuff, that would be one thing. I don't think fans will like that either. But AEW, I'm just not feeling it. I'm not feeling it, and I know a vast majority of AEW fans out there aren't feeling it either. So yeah, my opinion, I think this is not exactly. I think this whole thing with Ronda Rousey being in AEW is ill-conceived. I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to wait and see what happens. I'm not going to make a super huge deal out of it. But going forward, if things. If she starts making appearances and has matches and stuff like that, and fans don't take to it, then I think it's the best course of action for Tony Khan and AEW to pull the plug on that. So that's just my opinion. Again, I trust the process. We'll wait and see what happens. But I'm of the opinion that AEW does not need Ronda Rousey there. I understand again her affiliation with Marina Shafir. They're trying to tell that story, and if that's the story they're telling, then that's okay. As long as it's just that. As long as they keep her out of the ring for as much as possible, I'm okay with that. The second they start trying to feature her in matches and stuff like that and try to make her a focal point of that division, that's where people are going to have a problem, and that's where I think I'm going to have a problem too. So, it just that's just my stance on it. It is what it is. I'm gonna wait and see what happens. But yeah, with all the talent that AEW has and the talent that they're bringing in, like seemingly on a regular basis, I mean they've signed a lot of people just within the first 3.5 months. Or well, 2.5 months, or however you want to put it. I mean we're in mid March now, but AEW signed a lot of talent over the last couple months, and Ronda Rousey, they don't again. This AEW division, especially the women's division with the tag division and all, it is so stacked. There's so much talent coming in. They do not need a Ronda Rousey. I'm just putting it out there. They're in such a good spot right now. All the things are, everything is going right. They're getting some, national media attention with the whole fuck ice thing. The viewership is starting to mellow out once again. They're starting to get bumps in viewership. In terms of the, Dynamite, and they sold out Revolution on Sunday, and they're starting to get hot again. And I think they need to keep up that pace and keep up that momentum. And the last thing they want to do is to kind of, sour the fans' opinion on them by bringing in somebody like Ronda Rousey. That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. Again, I trust Tony Khan, and we'll see where they go from here. That's just my opinion on it. So go ahead and give me your thoughts. Let me know what you think. Do you think Ronda Rousey is a good fit in AEW? Do you not think it? Whatever the case may be. Go ahead and let me know. Hit me up in the comments. But anyway, that's all I got to say for this. So thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button. Leave a comment, like I said. Give me your thoughts on anything I talked about here. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Appreciate all the support you can get. With that being said, it's pretty much going to do it. So I'm going to sign off here. More content to come. But anyway, that's all I got to say for now. Till next time, Rest Otaku, I'm out. See you guys later. Peace.